Welcome back to Books on the Mic. Ready to rethink your to-do list?
Always.
Well, today we're diving deep into Chapter 6 of Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks.
Yeah.
And if the usual time management advice leaves you stressed instead of zen, hit that subscribe button, because this one's different.
Okay.
Burkeman's not about cramming more into your schedule.
Right.
It's about embracing limitations and finding a whole new way to relate to time.
I like it.
Me too.
What's fascinating about Berkman's approach is how he uses this really stark fact.
Yeah.
That the average human lifespan is only about 4,000 weeks.
Wow.
To reframe our entire perspective on time.
That's like he's holding up this giant cosmic clock.
Right.
And saying, look, this is all you've got.
Yeah.
What are you going to do with it? Definitely thought-provoking.
For sure.
And honestly, a little unsettling.
Yeah.
But also kind of freeing.
I think that unsettling feeling is what Berkman calls existential overwhelm. It's this tension between the endless possibilities the modern world offers
Right.
and the reality that our time is limited.
Yeah.
We want to do it all,
We do.
but we simply can't.
And it's deeper than just feeling busy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like there's this nagging feeling we're not spending time on the things that truly matter,
Yeah.
even when we achieve, what society says is success.
Right.
Like that story Berkman shares about Sylvia Kiesmont,
Oh, yeah.
the Bible scholar who left her university job to live on a farm
Really?
because she felt like the convenience of modern life was robbing her of something essential.
Kiesmont's story, I think,
Oh.
perfectly illustrates what Berkman's getting at.
Okay.
That sometimes the very things we think will make life easier,
Yeah.
convenience, efficiency, technology,
Yeah.
can actually make our experience of meaning less rich.
Less rich. Yeah.
Makes you wonder, where in your own life are you choosing convenience
Right.
over a more genuine experience?
Yeah. And it's not just about the choices we make. Our attention is constantly hijacked,
Right.
often without us even realizing it.
Exactly.
Like Berkman uses the example of those BuzzFeed reporters
Oh, yeah.
who spent 44 minutes
44 minutes.
watching a watermelon explode with rubber bands.
Think about that.
It's wild.
44 minutes and over 3 million viewers. Exploding fruit.
I know.
What Berkman's saying is that our attention is this finite resource,
Yeah.
easily seized by things
Mm.
that often don't align with what we truly value.
And that's even before we consider the distractions we choose ourselves.
Oh, for sure.
Like, scrolling endlessly through social media.
Right, and the irony is that we're chasing convenience and efficiency,
Yeah.
but that very pursuit undermines meaningful experiences.
Like he says, those personalized birthday cards you can send online
Oh, yeah.
just don't have the same impact as a handwritten card you actually mail.
Exactly. The ease and efficiency we often strive for can strip away
Yeah.
the very things that give life meaning. The effort, the personal touch, even the imperfections.
Yep.
So how do we break free from this existential overwhelm?
Yeah. How do we actually use our 4,000 weeks intentionally?
Well, Berkman's first suggestion might surprise you.
Hey.
Embrace your limitations. Instead of constantly fighting to do more, accept that you can't do everything.
Really?
It might seem counterintuitive,
It does.
but when you let go of that impossible fantasy of limitless productivity,
Okay.
you create space to make more conscious choices about how you spend your time.
So instead of trying to cram everything in,
Right.
we can be more selective about what truly belongs in our lives.
Yes, but how do we actually choose what stays and what goes?
Right. Good question.
Buckman offers this intriguing idea called radical incrementalism.
Radical incrementalism, huh?
He draws on research by Robert Boyce, who studied highly productive academics.
Okay.
And it turns out the most successful ones weren't necessarily working the longest hours.
That's interesting.
So Boyce found that these academics work in short, consistent bursts and took breaks even when they were in a groove.
Really?
So this concept of radical incrementalism means focusing on small, consistent steps
Okay.
instead of striving for these massive leaps forward.
So small steps.
Yeah, it's about acknowledging that real progress often takes time and patience.
Patience, yeah.
And it's also about resisting the urge to rush,
Oh, I see.
slowing down and focusing on one thing at a time.
Okay.
That's how you actually achieve more in the long run.
Makes me think about how frustrating it is to learn a new song on the piano.
Okay.
I want to master it instantly, and I end up feeling discouraged.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to reframe that.
Yeah.
Focus on those consistent, smaller steps.
Yeah.
It's like the art historian Jennifer Roberts,
Oh, yeah.
who made her students spend 3 hours
3 hours.
looking at a single painting.
That's amazing.
They were probably squirming at first.
Right.
But think about the skill they were developing.
Yeah.
The ability to slow down and truly observe. It's like when M. Scott Peck got stuck on a mountain road with a faulty handbrake
Scary.
and realized that the solution wasn't rushing, but patient observation.
It's true.
Sometimes the answer lies in resisting that urge to rush to a solution.
Yeah.
And just allowing the problem to reveal itself.
It's powerful that patience isn't passive waiting.
Right.
It's an active form of engagement with the world, allowing things to unfold at their own pace.
That's beautiful.
But you raised a great point.
Yeah.
How does all this relate to finding meaning?
Right.
How can accepting limitations and slowing down actually help us find more meaning?
That's what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Especially since we're talking about this feeling of meaninglessness
Yeah.
that Burkeman's patient was struggling with.
That takes us to the heart of Burkeman's argument.
Okay.
We need to redefine what it means to live a meaningful life.
Okay.
Instead of this grand cosmic view of meaning,
Right.
he suggests shifting to a more modest, everyday perspective.
So instead of striving to leave a dent in the universe,
Right.
we should focus on finding meaning in those small, ordinary moments.
Exactly.
Okay, but what does that even look like?
It's like a cosmic insignificance therapy.
Cosmic insignificance therapy.
Recognizing our ultimate insignificance on a cosmic scale
Okay.
can actually be liberating.
Okay.
It allows us to focus on what truly matters without feeling the pressure of leaving behind some grand legacy.
It's like once you realize how vast and indifferent the universe really is,
Right.
those anxieties about achieving greatness start to seem, I don't know,
Yeah.
a bit silly.
Yeah.
But doesn't that lead to nihilism?
He's making me.
Like if nothing really matters,
Yeah.
why bother doing anything at all?
That's a common misconception.
Okay.
But Burkeman argues that accepting our cosmic insignificance doesn't mean our lives are meaningless.
Okay.
It simply means we need to find meaning
Okay.
in the things right in front of us, in those everyday activities and relationships.
Okay, so what does a modestly meaningful life look like?
Yeah.
Are we just talking about baking bread and tending to our gardens?
That could be part of it, sure.
Okay.
But it's more about shifting your perspective. Instead of viewing everyday activities as distractions from bigger goals,
Yeah.
you begin to see them as inherently meaningful.
I'm starting to see how all these pieces fit together.
Great.
By accepting our limitations
Yeah.
and slowing down,
Yeah.
we create space for smaller, more meaningful experiences to emerge.
Exact.
It's about letting go of the pursuit of grand achievements
Yeah.
and finding satisfaction in the present moment,
Right.
in just being alive.
It's fascinating how Burkeman highlights examples like the digital nomad Mario Salcedo,
Right.
who found joy in the routine of life on a cruise ship. Something that might seem monotonous to most people,
Yeah.
but he found deeply fulfilling.
Or think about William McNeil's experience marching in the Army.
That was fascinating.
It was a
Seemingly pointless activity.
But that synchronized movement
Yeah.
created this powerful sense of connection and meaning.
For him and his fellow soldiers.
Exactly.
So it's not just about what we're doing,
Yeah.
but how we're doing it.
Right.
Being present, finding rhythm, connecting with others. These are all ways to infuse our lives with meaning.
You've got it.
And that leads us to another important aspect.
Yeah.
Synchronization.
Yes.
We're not meant to live in isolation,
No.
constantly optimizing our own individual schedules.
Right. Yeah.
We thrive on shared rhythms and experiences.
Like that Swedish study that showed
yeah.
that people were happier
Mm-hmm.
when more of the population was on vacation at the same time.
As if synchronizing our downtime
Right.
created a collective sense of relaxation.
Exactly.
And it's not just about vacations, is it?
No.
It's about finding ways to synchronize with others more regularly.
Absolutely.
Whether that's joining a choir,
Yeah.
volunteering.
Or simply making time for those regular gatherings with friends and family.
Right.
It reminds me of how much I enjoy singing with my choir.
Oh, nice.
It's not about achieving perfect vocals or anything.
Yeah.
Trust me, most of us are average singers at best.
Uh-huh.
But it's about creating something beautiful together,
Right.
experiencing that shared energy and rhythm.
Yeah, those shared experiences are all the more precious because
Yeah.
we know they're fleeting.
Mhm.
Berkman reminds us that every moment,
Yeah.
whether it seems significant or not,
Yeah.
is borrowed time.
Yeah.
We're just passing through.
It's true.
And every moment is a gift.
This all sounds a lot like a recipe for a happy life.
Yeah.
But where does hope fit into all this?
That's a great question.
If we're embracing our limitations
Mm.
and accepting that things are already not okay,
Yeah.
does that mean giving up on the possibility of a better future?
That's an excellent question.
Yeah.
And it brings us to one of Berkman's most thought-provoking ideas,
Okay.
embracing hopelessness.
Hold on, embracing hopelessness.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty grim.
It might sound that way at first,
Yeah.
but he doesn't mean giving up on everything.
Okay.
It's about letting go of this naive hope
Okay.
that things will magically work out on their own.
So it's about acknowledging the reality of our situation.
Yes.
Even the difficult parts.
Yeah.
And using that as fuel to take action.
Exactly. Burkeman quotes the environmental activist Derek Jensen,
Okay.
who argues that hope can actually be a curse.
A curse.
Because it places our faith in external forces
Yeah.
instead of acknowledging our own power to act.
That's a lot to consider.
There
It
is.
seems like there's a lot more to unpack here.
There is. It's
Yeah.
worth exploring further.
Yeah, definitely.
Why don't we take a break here, and when we come back,
Okay.
we can delve deeper into what Burkeman means by embracing hopelessness
Okay.
and how it connects to living a more meaningful life with our limited time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Welcome back to our deep dive into Oliver Burkeman's 4,000 Weeks. We were just discussing this idea of embracing hopelessness, which, as we said, is more about accepting reality so we can act more effectively and not wallowing in despair.
It's like having this aha moment, realizing you've been holding yourself to impossible standards, like you're never going to achieve perfect control over your time or your life. So maybe it's time to stop trying and start focusing on what you can accomplish.
Precisely, and that brings us to another key idea from Burkeman, living a provisional life. He argues that we should approach life with a sense of experimentation. There's no one right way to do things, and our plans will likely change.
So instead of meticulously planning out our entire lives, we should embrace uncertainty and be open to unexpected detours.
I like that.
Think of it like a sculptor working with clay. They start with a general idea, but allow the material to guide them, making adjustments along the way. That reminds me of the Finnish-American photographer Arno Minkkinen and his story about the Helsinki bus station. You might begin with a clear, artistic vision, but if you end up on the same route as someone else, you have to be willing to change course. Originality can be found in those unexpected detours.
Exactly, and it highlights the need for patience and persistence. It's easy to feel discouraged when things don't go as planned. But if we embrace experimentation and keep refining our approach, we might be surprised by what we create.
I can definitely relate to that. I tend to get frustrated when I don't see quick progress when I'm learning something new.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just my impatience getting in the way. Maybe I need to embrace the process more and trust that the results will come with time.
That's a really insightful observation, and it circles back to Burkeman's point about slowing down our culture values, speed and efficiency above all else, but that often leads us to rush through experiences without fully appreciating them.
He even talks about how leisure time has become infected with this need to be productive. We feel like we have to optimize our relaxation, constantly checking things off a fun list, instead of simply being present and enjoying the moment.
It's true, we're so focused on maximizing our time that we forget how to simply be to experience life without an agenda. But then the question becomes, if we're not always striving to achieve something, how do we avoid falling into a state of apathy or aimlessness?
That's a good question. Where's the balance between striving for something and just letting go?
Well, Burkeman's argument is that true engagement doesn't come from external goals or achievements. It comes from finding joy and meaning in the activities themselves, regardless of the outcome.
It's like how I find so much joy in hiking, even though I'm not trying to reach a specific destination or break any speed records. It's simply the act of being in nature, moving my body, and experiencing the beauty around me.
And remember our discussion about synchronization that applies to leisure time too. Sharing experiences with others, whether it's hiking, singing in a choir, or just having dinner together, enriches those moments and makes them more meaningful.
You know, it's funny because that makes me think of those slow TV shows that have become popular, watching a train journey in real time, or a group of people knitting a giant sweater. It sounds incredibly boring on the surface, but there's something strangely compelling about them.
That's such an interesting connection, and it might be because it taps into our innate desire for shared experience and a slower pace of life. It's a good reminder that our relationship with time isn't just personal, it's also deeply political. The way we structure our work, our leisure, Our entire lives is influenced by forces beyond our control.
That's a really important point. Burkeman talks about how industrial capitalism created this sharp division between work and leisure, leading to a hierarchy where work was seen as the primary purpose of life, and leisure was just a way to recover from more work.
And that mentality still lingers today. We're constantly told to be more productive, more efficient, more ambitious, but what if we challenge those assumptions? What if we could reimagine how we work and live, creating a world where we're more in control of our time?
That sounds amazing. But I'm not sure how realistic that is. These forces that shape our lives are so powerful. How could we possibly change them?
It's definitely a big challenge, but Brookman suggests that change begins with small individual acts of defiance. We can find ways to resist the tyranny of busyness in our own lives by setting boundaries, slowing down, and prioritizing the things that truly matter.
So it's not about waiting for some massive revolution to usher in a utopian future. It's about taking small steps each day to reclaim our time and build a more balanced way of life.
Exactly, and those small steps can have a ripple effect when we change how we live.
Yeah.
It can inspire others to do the same, and who knows, maybe those acts of resistance will eventually lead to something bigger and more transformative.
It reminds me of that quote from Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
That's a great quote to bring in here. By embracing our finitude, acting with intention and generosity, and refusing to get swept away by that constant current of busyness, we can each contribute to creating a more meaningful and fulfilling future for ourselves and for everyone.
This has been such an inspiring and thought-provoking conversation.
Mhm.
I'm feeling energized and ready to start putting some of Berkman's ideas into practice. But before we wrap up, I have one more question. How do we deal with FOMO? That fear of missing out. It's this feeling that we should be doing more, experiencing more, achieving more.
That's a question many of us grapple with, especially in today's hyper-connected world. We're bombarded with images of other people's seemingly perfect lives, and it's easy to feel like we're not measuring up.
It can be so discouraging, like you're always falling behind.
Right. But Berkman reminds us that FOMO is a natural consequence of accepting our limitations. When we acknowledge that we can't do everything that we have to make choices, it's inevitable that we'll miss out on some things.
So it's not about eliminating FOMO altogether, but learning to reframe our relationship with it.
Exactly. Berkman suggests we can actually use FOMO to our advantage. Think of it as a reminder of what truly matters to us when you feel that pang of envy or regret. It might be a sign that you're not spending your time in alignment with your values. It can be a call to action to reevaluate your priorities and make changes.
So instead of feeling defeated by FOMO, we can use it as a tool for growth and self-discovery.
That's the idea. It's about embracing the reality of our limited time and making conscious choices about how we want to spend it. And that brings us to another one of Berkman's concepts, strategic underachievement.
Now, that sounds counterintuitive.
Mhm.
Isn't Berkman all about making the most of our limited time? How does underachieving fit into that?
It might seem that way, but he's actually cautioning us against the trap of overachievement, constantly pushing ourselves to do more, be more, achieve more.
Which in the end can leave you feeling burnt out and dissatisfied.
Exactly. Strategic underachievement, on the other hand, is about consciously choosing to excel in certain areas of our lives while being okay with good enough in others.
So it's about being intentional with our energy and
Hmm.
focusing on what truly matters to us, even if it means letting go of some conventional ideas of success. It's about prioritizing, right? Deciding where to focus our energy and where to let go a little.
Yeah, it's about recognizing that we can't be exceptional at everything, and that's perfectly fine. In fact, by allowing ourselves to underachieve in some areas, we free up time and energy to truly excel in the things that matter most.
So it's about being intentional with our energy and focusing on what truly matters to us, even if it means letting go of some conventional ideas of success. It's about prioritizing, right? Deciding where to focus our energy and where to let go a little.
You got it. It's about recognizing that we can't be exceptional at everything, and that's perfectly fine, in fact. By allowing ourselves to underachieve in some areas, we free up time and energy to truly excel in the things that matter most.
This reminds me of the story about Warren Buffett and his pilot. Buffett asked his pilot to list his top 25 goals, then circle the top 5. He told the pilot to focus solely on those 5 and ignore the rest until they were achieved. It's a pretty radical approach, but it makes sense. By narrowing our focus, we can avoid getting bogged down in less important tasks and distractions.
That's a great example. It shows the power of being deliberate with our choices. Strategic underachievement isn't about being lazy or giving up on our goals. It's about making conscious decisions about where to invest our limited time and energy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hmm.
But how do we decide which areas to excel in and which ones to, well, underachieve in? Seems tricky.
It definitely is, and there's no one right answer. Berkman suggests asking yourself some key questions. What are your core values? What activities bring you the most joy and satisfaction? Where do you feel most naturally gifted? Once you have a clearer understanding of your priorities and passions, you can make choices that are more aligned with them.
So it's about self-awareness and understanding what truly matters to us. I'm starting to see how this connects back to the earlier ideas about embracing our limitations and finding meaning in the everyday. It's all about being more intentional and making choices that are aligned with our values, rather than just going through the motions or trying to do everything.
Exactly. And it's okay if those choices don't fit into those conventional ideas of success.
It's like Sylvia Kiesman's story, choosing to leave her prestigious academic position to live on a farm. She was clearly brilliant and could have achieved great things in academia, but she chose a different kind of life, one that was more in line with her own values and passions.
That's a perfect example of how strategic underachievement can actually lead to a more fulfilling life. It's not about lowering your standards or settling for mediocrity. It's about choosing to focus your energy on what truly matters to you, even if it means letting go of external measures of success.
So instead of chasing external validation, we're focusing on what brings us genuine fulfillment. It's about aligning our actions with our values and passions.
You got it. And it reminds me of another important point. Berkman makes the importance of play and experimentation. He encourages us to approach life with a sense of curiosity and adventure, being willing to try new things and explore different paths, even if they don't lead to immediate success.
That's a good reminder. It's like giving ourselves permission to be beginners again, to embrace the joy of learning and discovery without that pressure of having to be perfect right away.
Exactly. And that can be so liberating. When we let go of the need to control every outcome, we open ourselves up to unexpected possibilities and serendipitous encounters. We allow life to surprise us.
Thinking back to those 3 million people who watched that watermelon explode on BuzzFeed, they probably didn't set out to waste their time. But who knows, maybe they stumbled upon something unexpected that sparked their curiosity or made them laugh. Even in the most mundane or seemingly pointless activities, there's always potential for discovery and delight.
It's a great reminder that life is full of unexpected gifts. And it brings us back to Berkman's core message. Embracing our finitude isn't about resigning ourselves to a life of limitations. It's about finding freedom and meaning within those limitations. It's about recognizing that our time is precious and choosing to spend it in ways that align with our values and passions.
This has been such a rich and rewarding conversation. I feel like I've gained a whole new perspective on time management. I'm excited to start putting some of these ideas into
I'm
practice.
so glad to hear that. Remember, embracing our finitude isn't about giving up or settling for less. It's about finding freedom and meaning within our human experience. It's about making the most of the time we have, not by trying to do everything, but by choosing to do a few things that truly count.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into 4,000 weeks.
Thank you to everyone for joining us on this deep dive into 4,000 weeks. We hope you'll continue to explore these ideas and discover what it means to live a more meaningful and fulfilling life 1 week at a time.
That's such a powerful message, and it's a perfect place to end our conversation. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.